quickly say that you'll find this video super helpful if you're just starting out your career. Let's say you want to move into technology and you're trying to basically understand where your skill sets will best function, what role will suit you best, and things like that. Hey beautiful people, welcome to another exciting episode of Zini's Corner. And happy new month, guys. Welcome to the month of September. If you're just coming to this channel for the first time, my name is Ezine. I often talk about personal and career development and edutainment topics in between. I am super sure you will find it impactful here, so please do consider subscribing. To my existing subscribers, thank you for being on this journey with me. Now, on today's episode here on Zini's Corner, I'm going to be talking about 10 coding and non-coding roles in tech, what they mean and what they do. Now, I am going to be breaking down these roles, what they mean, what they do. However, I can assure you that you will really find this topic interesting. So do consider watching to the end, share, subscribe, and please feel free to leave a comment. If you're watching this video and you are a mid-level person or you're already in tech, you know your way around, but you know someone who this video can benefit, please feel free to share it with them. Also, pardon me, I'm going to be looking at my screen from time to time because I'm going to be reading out some explanation of some of the roles I will be listing here. Now, let's get right into the role. The first role on my list is called a backend engineer. Who is a backend engineer? Now, from the explanation, a backend engineer is someone who ensures that the website performs currently, focusing on database, backend logic, application programming, interface, architecture, and servers. What this essentially means is that in a layman's language, a backend engineer are those engineers that specifically work on the back side of things. Now, imagine a website or an application, the things that happen behind the scene, the engineers who are responsible for building those things. For instance, when you communicate with a website or an application, when you put in something, the logic that ensures that what you have entered, the data you have entered in that application works and gives you the results that you require. The engineers who make that happen are called the backend engineers. Now, what are some soft skills that are required for a backend engineering role? Some soft skills that you can have as a backend engineer are critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical skills. These skills are very important. Now, what are some hard skills that are required for a backend engineer? Some hard skills required for a backend engineer are knowledge of specific programming language, for example, Python, PHP, knowledge of application programming interface, which is called API, and knowledge of frameworks of programming languages like Node.js, Django. These are some frameworks that go alongside programming language. And the second role on my list is called front-end engineer. Who are front-end engineers? Front-end engineers are engineers that are involved with building what users can see, how you interact with a software or application, and their aim is to provide a satisfactory user experience with the software. Now, in a layman's language, what this means is the engineers who build, when you go to a website, what you see, the first thing you see on the website, the actions that happen on the website, the fact that you can impute something into a website and that thing you have imputed shows on the screen or an application, the people who ensure that you see the placeholders, the you are able to type in something into a website and that thing actually types, and the data you're typing into a website actually types and goes into whatever you want it to do to give you your desired result. Those are the front-end engineers. So some soft skills required for front-end engineering are creativity, collaboration, and communication. As a front-end engineer, you need to be able to be creative, you need to be able to be collaborative, because front-end engineers often work alongside other roles. You need to be creative. By creativity, you need to be able to think outside the box, because your role requires you doing you're the first point of contact that users interact with when they are interacting with a website or an application or any kind of software. Now, some hard skills required for front-end engineering is specific knowledge of some programming languages like JavaScript, HTML, CSS. These are some so by hard skills are actually the things that you can learn, you can further learn. I feel like the hard skills are actually not the difficult part, because those ones with dedication, consistency, you can learn them. But the soft skills are, don't get me wrong, they are both very important, but soft skills are sometimes skills that come to someone naturally, or skills that people need to build over time. So these are some of the soft and hard skills required to be successful as a front end engineer. Now, the next role on my list is called a DevOps engineer. Who is a DevOps engineer? A DevOps engineer is an IT generalist who has a wide-ranging knowledge of both development and operations, which includes coding, infrastructure, management, systems administration, and DevOps toolchain. What does this mean in a layman's language? Essentially, a DevOps engineer is someone who has the knowledge of both coding and technology operations. The name DevOps engineer, dev operations, essentially that's just what it means. Developer operations, someone who has a knowledge of um, development and operational sides of how software works. So, for example, DevOps engineer, you will see them often involved in um, server maintenance, building the ensuring that the databases of applications are working properly. What does this mean? Database is essentially where, like the storage of any application or software. DevOps engineers are also responsible for designing the architecture and server management of how any application or website would work. So some of the soft skills required for DevOps engineering, or skills that you have and you'll be successful as a DevOps engineer, are communication, collaboration, and interpersonal skills. You can see communication is really coming up in a lot of roles. Of course, you cannot be working as an engineer and you will not be able to communicate, because you need to communicate with others. Most of these roles, you need to be able to communicate what you're doing, your task. I will get into that. Of course, there are people who they usually say product managers. This is a shade on PMs. Hard skills required to be successful as a DevOps engineer include dev operation tools, knowing how to use some dev operation tools like Docker, server management tools, configuration management tools. These are just some examples of tools that DevOps engineer use, but this does not mean that these are all the tools. You can Google the rest yourself. These are just examples to give you an insight into some tools that DevOps engineers use. Next role on my list is network engineer. Who is a network engineer? A network engineer is an engineer who creates and monitors computer networks, ensuring that the system connections have stable and secured internet and data. There is this joke that people would say network engineers are, those engineers that would go and disconnect your network and and connect it back. So essentially, as the name suggests, network engineers core functional or core this role essentially are engineers who manage your network, your group of network in an organization, ensuring that the network is secure, is fast, is accessible to everybody in the organization or within that network. Just think about people who make sure that your network is running from one computer to another. People who ensure Engineers who ensure that your network is safe within an organization server. These are who network engineers are. And some soft skills required to be successful as a network engineer are analytical, customer relations, because network engineers oftentimes they are, you communicate a lot, or you are relating a lot with your colleagues, who in this term are your customers. So you need to be good with relationship with people, analytical skills, because of course you cannot manage a network, or you cannot be able to figure out what is wrong with a network if you cannot think analytically and critically when a problem is presented to you. Now, some hard skills required to be successful as a network engineer includes troubleshooting, firewall, security, IoT experience. Now, these experience, again, these are just some hard skills, not like these are all the skills, but these are just some hard skills required for you to function as a network engineer. So you can Google the rest of them, but this just kind of gives you an idea of who and what network engineers do. Now, the next role on my list is product manager. Again, product manager. Who are product managers? Product managers are people who identify the customer need and the larger business objective that a product or feature will fulfill, articulates that into what success looks like for the product, and rallies a team to turn that vision into reality. Now, product managers, there's this thing usually said about product managers, that product managers are the product management role is an intersection between business and technology and customer. They are like the magnets that holds these three people together. A product manager is that person who, listens to the customer, articulates the customer's problem, and relates it back to the technical team to be able to identify or build products that solve a need or that satisfies customers' desires or customers' problem. So think about that person who is like a middleman between the development team, the customers who are the users of the product, and the business entirely. So this in a nutshell, these are who product managers are. Now, what are some soft skills required to succeed as a product manager? You have communication, very important. A product manager has to be able to know how to communicate, and by communication, written, verbal, because product managers communicate a lot. They communicate to clients, they communicate to users, they communicate within their internal stakeholders, which is their fellow colleagues and team members. So communication, critical thinking. A product manager needs to be able to see a problem, critically think about that problem, and figure out the best way to solve that problem within a product. And then the third one, a product manager needs to be able to be spontaneous as well, because there's something usually said about product managers that they are constantly iterating. Iteration essentially means constantly changing something. So a product manager needs to be able to have that ability to be spontaneous. Now, some hard skills required to function or to be successful as a product manager are ability to conduct research. Of course, you have to conduct research as a product manager. You need to understand your customers, your potential customers, and how what the challenges they are facing relates to your product. So, ability to conduct research, ability to write user stories. Product managers write user stories. User stories are one major thing that product managers do in their role. You can't build a product without identifying your users and grouping them into their next role on my list is project manager, or IT project manager, as some people call it, or even software project manager, depending on which company they are working for. If they are working for a software company, a software focused company, they're often called software project managers. If they are working for just other kind of IT companies, they are called IT project manager. So, but generally, project managers. Who are project managers? A project manager is a person who is responsible for accomplishing the objectives of a project. They are accountable for planning, executing, and closing projects within the constraints of time, budget, and scope. Now, what does this mean? Essentially, project managers are those people whose responsibility are ensuring that a project runs from inception to closure. What is a project? You might ask, what does a project mean? So a project is any work that has, that runs within a specific time frame, within a specific budget, and within a specific scope. This is what a project means. Now, project managers are those people whose core duties are ensuring that a project runs within the constraints of time, budget, and scope. You might ask, what is the difference between a project manager and a product manager? A product manager sets the vision, goals, and business trajectory of a product, while a project manager leads the many projects to make the goals a reality. So if the product manager is a strategic thinker, the project manager is a doer. This is just the difference between a product manager and a project manager. What are some soft skills required to be successful as a project manager? Stakeholder management, very important. Project managers are big on stakeholder management. Who are stakeholders? Stakeholders are essentially everybody who's who has a who has a relationship with that project. It can be internal stakeholders, it can be external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders are essentially their colleagues, the developers, the business person, other departments within that organization who has a stake or who has a relationship with that project, who has different kind of relationship that requires the success of that project. Those are who stakeholders are. And external stakeholders are could be the clients who own the project. So that's why stakeholder management is very important for the success of a project manager's role. The second soft skill that a project manager that is required to be successful as a project manager is, again, communication. Project managers are big on communication. You have to communicate to your stakeholders. You have to communicate with both your internal and external stakeholders. Essentially, you cannot even, you can't stakeholder if project managers, half of what they do is communicating something or the other to someone. So communication is very important. And the next soft skill important for a project manager is time management and organization. As a project manager, you need to be very, very, very big on time management because you're doing too many things at the same time. You need to be able to manage your time, you need to be able to be organized, and just an additional one, prioritization skills. You need to be super good at knowing how to prioritize what is important. These are just some soft skills that you require to be successful as a project manager. Now, moving on to the hard skills required to be successful as a project manager, you have ability to use different project management tools. For example, you have Microsoft Project, you have Asana, you have even Jira. These are just some project management tools. There are lots of them out there. You can research on them, but these are just some project management tools that project managers use on a daily basis. The next hard skill required to be successful as a project manager is ability to develop project implementation plans. You need to know how to write project implementation plan. You need to know how to develop a budget. You need to know how to develop things like requirements, doing requirement gathering. These are just some hard skills required to be successful as a project manager. The next role on my list is people operations, or HR as other industries might call it. Who are people operations? HR. HRs are people within a company who are responsible for screening, recruiting, and training of employees, as well as implementing employee processes. I think that is very self-explanatory. Everybody already knows who HR are. They are our HR are the friendly friends of the employees, as they would like to call themselves. So yes, of course, in the tech industry, you can find a HR role which is often called people operations. Um, sometimes you can hear these roles, people operations, or people something that has to do with people. It's essentially an HR role. So these are who HR people are. Some soft skills required to be successful as a people operations person is people skills, ability to manage people, ability to customer relations, ability to relate with people um, in a professional manner, ability to communicate. Of course, you cannot relate to people if you're not communicating with them. And Some hard skills required to be successful as a people operations person is things like payroll management, um, getting maybe some HR or some HR trainings like CPHR, um, equipping yourself with HR tools that are needed to do things like payroll management and yeah, these are just some hard skills that are required for you to be successful as a um, as a people operations person. Remember, these are not all the skills. It's left for you to now further on build on this information which I've given to you, research and find out if you're interested in becoming a HR person, what is required. But now you have at least a basic idea of what HR is called in the tech industry, people operations, like I told you earlier. The next role on my list is product designers. Who are product designers? Product designers are people who oversee the design process of a product from start to finish, or they improve an existing product. So essentially, when a product is about to be built, product designers are people who imagine what this product would be like, do a skeletal design of it, imagine what the experience you as a user will have with this product, and bring it to life as a design. These are who product designers are. So product designers sometimes you can hear word like user experience, or sometimes they are often even mistaken with UI UX, but the UI UX role and product designers are closely related but are not the same. However, for the purpose of this video, I am just going to talk about the product designers. So product designers, they conceptualize the experience that they want you as a user to have with when you come in contact with any product or a software. They bring that design to life, thinking about holistically the experience you have from the start of encountering that product to your to the finish line of your experience with that product as a user. Now, some soft skill required to be successful as a product designer is: number one, creativity. As a product designer, you have to be creative, because you have to, with creativity, you'll be able to think holistically or think outside the box of what the design of a product would look like, what the colors will feel like, how the colors will make your users feel, and things like that. You often see product designers being very good with color matching, um as aesthetics, and things like that. They are the ones who ensure that the feeling of you get the feeling that they want you to feel when you experience their products. So some hard skills required for some hard skills required to be successful as a product designer is ability to prototype, ability to use product design tools like Figma. Figma is a big product design tools. However, there are other product design tools, but I'm just going to mention Figma. Ability to do things like user research. As a product designer, you need to be able to also understand your users, and to be able to do that, you have to conduct some sort of user research. So these are just some hard skills required to be a product designer. Now, the next role on my list is growth and content marketers. Yes, you heard that right. They are growth and content marketers in tech. Who are growth and content marketers? Growth and content marketers. Content marketing is a marketing strategy utilizing valuable and useful information to develop a brand in the form of storytelling, while growth marketing is a form of marketers whose strategy is to increase a company's revenue by improving customer retention and loyalty. Mhm. Now, this content you see on social media, they hire them in tech. So if you're good with content marketing and you're feeling like, oh, I want to work in tech, there is a place for you. You can actually be a content marketer working within a tech company. You can be a growth marketer working within a tech company. You're good with storytelling, you're good with content development, there is a place for you in tech. So these are who content and growth marketers are. Some soft skills required to function as a content marketer or growth marketer in to be successful on this role. You see things like storytelling, ability to um, develop content, and now some hard skills required to be successful on this role. You can have things like ability to do things like search engine optimization. As a growth marketer, you want to be able to optimize your products to for it to search engine optimization essentially means a product being able to be maximally optimized to be found online. When you search for something and Google or whatever search engine you're using gives you um, a list of that thing you're searching, those websites popping up at the top, they are websites that are highly optimized with the keywords of that thing you're searching. So that's what, in a nutshell, search engine optimization means. So as a growth marketer, of course, you need to be able to know how to do things like that. So these are just one of the skills that you need to be successful as a growth marketer. The next role on my list is customer success. Now, in other industries, they call it customer service or customer support. But in the tech industry, you often hear things like customer success, customer happiness, customer experience, and all those fancy names. They all mean customer support or customer service, however you call it in your industry. But in tech, you often hear names like customer success, customer advocate, customer happiness, and things like that. They all would mean customer success. Who are customer success? Customer success are people who support their customers as they transition from sales prospects to active users of their products. They are focused on a customer's loyalty and building close long-term relationship with those customers. Now, some skills, soft skills required to be successful as a customer success person is excellent communication skills, attention to detail, because customer success people are often the people that take over from sales to be able to convert those customers, to gain their loyalty, to maximize a customer's lifespan on a product. This is just what customer success people do. Some hard skills required to be successful as a customer success person is ability to use CRM tools. Now, CRM, what are CRM tools? CRM tools simply means client relationship management tools. So, to be successful as a customer success person, you might want to know how to use some CRM tools. Example of some CRM tools is you have things like Salesforce, HubSpot. These are just some examples of CRM tools. And what does a CRM tool do, you might ask? So essentially, CRM tools are tools or softwares that gives you a 360 view of a customer. For example, if you on a CRM tool, you might be able to see the time a customer visited this website, the location this customer visit, the location of customers that are visiting your website, their behavioral pattern on your website. So with this, you'll be able to know how to properly channel your product, or properly channel or properly improve something that is not working properly on your website. So CRM tool just gives you a 360 view of your product visitors, or your product users, or your website visitors, if I may put it like that. So yeah, here we have it. Some tech, um 10 coding and non-coding roles in the tech industry, and some honorable mention. These are not all the roles in tech, but these are just, of course, I cannot mention all the roles in tech because they are just a lot. However, the essence of this video is to ensure, to let you know that there are just a lot of roles in tech that are not solely coding roles. Just some honorable mention. I have roles like operations associate or manager. Operations associate simply means, in other industries they are often called administrative managers. So, but in tech you hear things like operations manager or operations associate. Sales manager, of course, most tech companies have sales managers or sales associates. Account managers, data analysts, mobile engineers. Mobile engineers are engineers that build apps that work on phones. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it, some coding and non-coding roles in tech. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, share, and feel free to leave your comments. If there's, you have a question, feel free to ask your question in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer you. If you have not subscribed, please do consider subscribing if you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for stopping by here on the channel. I'll see you next time. Peace and light.